Hey, welcome or welcome back to Baby Library. It's your girl Lisa, and Happy New Year to you. This is going to be my January TBR reading plans. As you all know, I am a mood reader, so it's whatever goes this month, but it's definitely going to be something that I already own. Read What You Own is a way for us to make sure that we are not keeping on to things in the new year that we could be reading and starving ourselves from probably our best reads of the year. I know last year I actually read my favorite book of the year in January, and so I'm hoping I could duplicate that this year. So this is a call out for you all to make sure that you are reading some of the books that you got from Stuff Your Kindle Day, reading the books that you got as holiday presents, reading the books that you may have picked up during the All Black Book Affair, or just books that have been sitting on your shelves for months, if not years. Personally, I know I've got a few, so I will definitely be reading Half Blown Rose by Lisa Cross Smith. This has been sitting on my shelf since 2022 when it first came out. This is a older woman, younger man romance where the woman has traveled to Paris and she is falling in love. She is 44 and she falls in love with someone I believe that is 20 years her junior. She is just getting out of a relationship where she was married for years and her husband had been keeping secrets from her this entire time. And instead of telling her about what was working or what wasn't working in their marriage, he decided to write a tell-all book. And so her first idea was, let me get out of the city, and what better place to go than Paris? So this is going to be us finding out all of the juicy details of what's been going on in her marriage, finding herself and falling in love in the city of love. And so I am very, very excited to read this. I also want to read Jesmyn Ward's Let Us Descend. This is a magical realism historical fiction that centers, I believe, a retelling or reimagining of American slavery. I think it also has some things to do with the element, traveling back in time. And I know this is probably going to be a heavy read, but I've heard really great things of Jesmyn Ward, and I want to be able to say whether I like this or not myself. This was a Goodreads Choice Award, so I think I may or may not do a video of determining how well Goodreads did with historical fiction, because a lot of the books that I have on my shelf, the only category that they support is historical fiction, and so I want to read this one and see whether or not this should have been voted as number one. I also will be reading Things in Pairs. So I've got a number of series on my shelf that I want to start. One in particular is an author that I started with in January that, again, had my best book of the year, which is going to be Miss Kennedy Ryan. I plan on reading the Kingmaker duet. So that is The Kingmaker and the Rebel King. I have the original copies, but I also have the newer release. So I'm hoping that I love this series. I think a lot of people have. This is Opposites Attract. It centers an Indigenous female main character. She is working to stop the male main character's father from drilling and messing with the pipeline. And I am very interested. I've heard really great things about this one. I also love political romance. So I've want to pick this up, and I want to keep going with this series because I know I also want to read Queen Move. I don't think that I'll get to it in January, but Kingmaker and the Rebel Queen, because I know Kingmaker has a heavy cliffhanger. I definitely want to read these back to back. I then need to read the person who has the most books on my shelf that I have never read from, and that's Miss Sophie Lark. I will be seeing her at a Polycon, so I figured let's go ahead and read The Brutal Prince as well as Stolen Heir. I have a feeling that I'm going to get into this series and just binge read the entire thing and go on to their children. So I'm going to try to stop myself and just pace. But for sure, Brutal Prince and Stolen Heir, these are mafia romances that I've heard nothing but great things about. Like I said, I have the full series on my shelf and I may binge read the whole thing, but we'll see. These were a little bit intimidating because they look very, very thick. But as I'm going through them, they have extremely large fonts and big spacing, so I think this is going to be a breeze to get into. So definitely going to be reading Sophie Lark. Tell me which one is your favorite. I think I'm going to like the third in the series, but again, I'm going to try to pace myself as I go through. Now, January is typically still fantasy season for me, so I'm going to be reading Daniel Jensen's The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen. This, I've heard, is fantasy romance to the core. You've got a series where it's two kingdoms that have been fighting over land. One king sends his daughter to fall in love with a prince and to assassinate him. And she winds up falling in love with him and deciding to marry him. And now she has to determine whether or not she is going to stand by her husband's side or do what her father wants and kill her husband. So I've heard pretty good things about this one. I do also have The Traitor Queen. Daniel will also be at a Polycon, so I definitely have to read these so we can have some things to chat about when I do meet her. Also at a Polycon, again, as you all can see, I'm trying to blast through as many authors as I can. Now, this author I have read from in the past, who is Ashley Jade. I have read The Words, but I'm ready for a little bit of dark romance, and I heard really great things about The Devil and The Devil's Advocate. This is a polyamorous romance, male, female, that I heard is best to go in blind, and I'm doing just that. All I know is that this has some dark elements to it. I did take a peek into one of the books and I read a line that just hit and was like, ooh, this is definitely going to be my vibe. And then other books that I plan on picking up that I do not own physically, but I own on my Kindle or an audiobook version. I am planning on read Pam Godwin's Sea of Ruin. I've heard absolutely nothing but great things. I have an audio and Kindle version of that, so I'll be reading that in tandem. And then I also will be doing the 12 for 12 participation challenge. So I am going to read Kathy Yardley's role playing. As you all know, I am a sucker for romances that have older characters. So I believe it is a gamer couple that are in their 40s. So sign me up. Definitely want to thank Ricky for sending me that from @RickyReads. So that is my January hopefuls. I'm going to call it hopefuls because who knows where January will lead me. Again, I am a mood reader. So wherever the path takes me, again, just know that it is going to be books that I already own. Please do yourself a favor and read what's on your shelves. And until next time, do me a favor, leave me a sword emoji for The Bridge Kingdom, or tell me what you plan on reading from your bookshelves in January, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.